In a world where heads are big and safety regulations are small, samples must be collected. Only one Kerbal has what it takes to collect them all. Chad Kerbin. I am Buckeye Monkey, and this is Sample Quest. Hey, what's up everybody? Buckeye Monkey here. Sample Quest Part 2. In the first part, we brought a sample back from Minmus the Moon and Gilly. And so, stands to reason, next logical step is to try to get to Duna and Ike and bring some samples back from there. So let's go ahead and get to it and hop in game. Sample Quest is a fresh career mode save that I started just for this game. And I'm not really using any mods. I do have Kerbal Alarm Clock installed just to help with, time warping and things like that. But other than that, no mods, no gameplay affecting mods or anything, just all stock. And I'm not going to be using quicksaves or reverts to the VAB. So if I fail, if a design is bad and it explodes on the launchpad or Kerbal dies, I engage in some litho breaking, then that Kerbal just dies. And to that purpose, I've taken Jeb, Bill, and Bob and put them in a spaceship. And shove them off to the side so that they don't show up in my astronaut list. Our first Kerbal is Chad Kerbin. He's still alive. Our death count is still at 0. Haven't killed anybody yet, and I hope to keep it that way. So let's get to it. Trying to get to Duna and Ike. I think what I'm going to do is kind of do this in 2 missions, although it's not going to really be 2 separate landers. I think I'm going to try to build like a refueling station with a science lab attached and get that out in Duna orbit, and then separately take a lander out there and land on either Duna or Ike first, maybe Ike first, then refuel at the refueling station and clean up my science modules, and then land on Duna, and then go ahead and get home and bring those samples back. So we're going to build everything from scratch then. Alright, so let's start with a command pod here. So we're going to have 3 Kerbals. And then we want a docking clamp, of course, so that we can join up with our lander ship. Science, where's our science lab? And then for our interplanetary stage and kind of refueling stage, because I'm gonna kind of replicate what I did with the Gilly 1 ship. This thing should get us to Duna and have tons of fuel left once we're in Duna's sphere of influence, to act as a refueling station. But we're gonna need some other things. How about some RCS tanks? Get 4 of those on there, and some some RCS thrusters, and let's see here. What we need next are solar panels. Could definitely use some of those. And maybe some batteries? Yeah, why not? This thing's probably going to be a pig to steer around, so let's add a advanced SAS in here. Oops. Alright. And I think we're good to go. I don't really need anything else for this interplanetary stage before we start building the actual launch vehicle. Although, I think I'm going to go ahead and put on some girders here and strut up this bad boy. So we end up holding together pretty well. Make sure we do not fall apart. Like Ghillie 1 ship, like the original version of Ghillie 1 ship did. That was not fun. Chad did make it out of that alive. But it was almost a complete disaster. Oops. Why do you not want to cooperate, Space Tape? What? Why? Why do you hate me? There we go. Alright, now we're good to go. So this should hopefully hold together pretty well. Once we build our asparagus staging below it. Now this is not Ghillie 1 ship. This is Duna truck stop 1. Alright. So we want our main stage here. We do not have mainsails yet. Well, we have skippers. Although I kind of like skippers. They're more efficient than mainsails, and they don't have the absurd thrust that mainsails do. So you don't really have to worry too much about overheating or them just plain tearing your ship apart with their obnoxious levels of thrust. And the thing is, you know, when you're low in the atmosphere, you don't really want to be going super fast. So, you know, if you're throttling back your mainsail, you know, like say halfway, so that you're not going too fast in the lower atmosphere and either ripping yourself apart or wasting fuel, then you know you've essentially turned your mainsail into a skipper, which has about half the thrust of a mainsail, but it's less efficient. So I don't know. I'm a big fan of the skipper, I guess is what I'm saying here, and I think I'll still have a place for it, even after I do get access to the mainsail. So what do we want here? We want some launch stabilizers and some fins. And I think that kind of does it. So we need to set up our staging. Well, actually first, let's add some struts there. Okay. So we want all these rockets to fire with our launch stabilizers. We want this rocket to fire with that decoupler. Then these radials will fire. Ooh, I know what I'm forgetting. I am forgetting the boosters. I always want some boosters. If it doesn't explode, add more boosters. If it does explode, add more struts. Basic philosophy for building in Kerbal Space Program. Alright, so those are kind of, this one's kind of off center, I think. That better? No. Is that better? Yes. Okay. So, alright, so we want these boosters also to fire with this stage, and these radial decouplers to get rid of the boosters and fire there. Let's move our ship down some. There's no reason to have it so high up off the launch pad. Okay. So now time to duplicate our little asparagus. Oh man. Nope. Not time for that yet. What I first need to do is throw a girder in here. Give myself a little extra distance from the center of our asparagus stock. Alright, so now let's go ahead and duplicate these things on around the sides. That looks pretty good there. So now we have our stages, our asparagus stalks. What's this engine? What's that? Who are you? You need to go down there. Alright. And so now we need to add in our fuel lines. So let's try to, these are our asparagus stalks decouplers. And they're kind of in order already. So we start with you guys, and we want your fuel to come over here. Then we want your fuel to come over here. And we want your fuel to come over here. And finally, we want this last stage's fuel, if I can get myself a good angle here, to come into the center. So now these guys are going to run out of fuel first, second, third, and fourth. Yeah, first, second, third, and fourth. But one thing I need to do is this first stage is going to run out of fuel pretty quick. It's going to run out faster than these boosters are going to. So rather than deal with trying to figure out how much fuel I need to take out of those boosters to exactly match it, I'm just going to throw some small boosters on that stage, because those will definitely run out before the fuel runs out on that stage. So I think we're good to go. We just need to add a ton of struts in here everywhere to make sure this thing kind of holds together, because falling apart would not be good. Would not be good at all. So that's kind of on the top there. We've got our struts going to the middle. Let's put another ring of struts around the bottom. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's give these boosters some struts too, just to make sure they're not super wobbly. Usually a decoupler alone, especially on these big boosters, isn't quite enough to hold them steady. Small boosters should be okay with just the decoupler stuff. Alright, so the main thing of concern in a design like this is this decoupler right here and this engine right here. Usually you get a lot of stress here and things can fall apart on you. So I'm going to just basically throw in struts everywhere to try to keep that from happening. Try to keep this ship together and not fall apart as we are launching. So there you have it. There are struts everywhere on this bad boy. And just to be safe, let's go ahead and put some struts there. I think we're good to go with Duna Truck Stop 1. I think we can get into orbit with this. With fuel left in this stage down here, enough fuel to start pushing us out to Duna. And then we'll definitely get to Duna with lots of fuel left in this upper stage here to serve as a refueling depot. Oh, you know what? Before we launch, let's go ahead and put some lights on here so we can see what we're doing. Especially when we want to dock. Those will be helpful. Okay, so Duna Truck Stop 1. Time to launch. A little wobbly, but I think we're in good shape. And check the staging again. Oh, you know what? This first stage, we want to move down here because actually, let's recover vessel. Recover vessel is not a revert to the VAB. It is a recovery. So we need to make a couple tweaks to our staging here. So these radial decouplers here need to go on their own stage. These separate ones that I added. And you guys. So we get radial couplers, and then we get this first asparagus stock. Then we get the big boosters, and then we start getting the other asparagus stocks. Okay. So now that we've got that sorted out, it is time to get on to Duna. Cross your fingers, Chad. Engen and Kerbals are joining Chad. This will be their first mission. Let's hope we don't kill anybody here. So, alright, let's launch. You know, I don't have any parachutes on here. So, there pretty much is no way to recover if things go poorly. So let's hope this design holds together. And we do all right. We seem to be doing okay so far. Getting close to the first stage here, where we're going to get rid of these small boosters. There we go, small boosters away, and first asparagus stocks away, and we're still in pretty good shape. You know, when I created Gilly 1 the first time, that was right where things started to fall apart. When we first lost first asparagus stock. Okay. So now we are down to 3 pairs of stocks around the outside. And we are coming up on 10,000 meters, where we kind of want to start a gentle gravity turn. We're not going super fast yet, so we don't really want to yank it right over to the 45 degree. Kind of want to ease into it a little bit, because you kind of want to be going more like 200, 250, not 200 now. Lose those stocks. You don't necessarily want to swing right over the 45 degree line if you're not quite going fast enough. Stage almost done. There we go. Now we're down to our last 2 stocks. Those should last quite a while, so we can go into this view. and kind of watch our progress here. I think once I get up to about 1,000 meters per second, I'm going to start tilting over some more, and begin working on the circularizing the orbit a little bit more. Everything's still steady, everything good, everything nominal. That still climbing. We're at about 1,000 meters per second. Let's go ahead and tilt over some more. Start stretching that orbit out. We want to get this up to about 75,000 meters, 78. That's usually what I go for a launch like this. The atmosphere starts at around 70,000 meters, so 68 or 69, something like that. So you want a little comfortable margin there, I guess, and kind of 75 to 78, which is usually what I personally shoot for. Almost out of this stage. There we go. Alright. So we have an apoapsis of 78 and we have a nice wide orbit already, so we shouldn't need too big of a burn up here to circularize. And we only need about 43 seconds. It's not too bad. So we're going to start this burn around 22 seconds from the maneuver node. And 22 seconds there. Start our burn. If we execute this properly, we should have a nice circular orbit with plenty of fuel left in this stage to start our burn out to Duna. 78 and 77. Pretty good. Very circular. And see, we still have about 3/4 of our fuel left in this stage to start our push out to Duna. So once we get to Duna and get in orbit around Duna, I'm pretty sure this stage up here is going to have lots and lots of fuel in it to serve as our truck stop. So I think what I'm going to do now that we got this in orbit, is go ahead and go to the Space Center and build our Ike/Duna lander. Because we are going to head out there in 2 separate missions, but I kind of might as well get them both headed out there at the same time, so that when we're going through time acceleration in deep space and everything, we don't really need to worry too much about doing that twice. So I think what I'm going to do here is, this launch vehicle worked pretty good. So I'm going to go ahead and pull this off right here and drop that on our sub-assembly zone. Call this Launcher 1. We'll save that. So when we get our lander all set up, we can just kind of add that to it. So how do we want to do this? We want to, let's see, we want to add RCS tank, we want a reaction wheel, some fuel there, and then we want the LV909. Duna does not have as much gravity as Kerbin does. So this engine, the way I'm going to build this, should be good enough to get us off of Duna, and it should be powerful enough. And the bonus is that it is lighter and more efficient than these bigger engines. So let's see. let's Hey Sierra One, welcome to my little stream here. I am attempting to get to Duna and Ike to bring samples back in this career mode that I've created. And if I'm not really playing with any mods other than Kerbal Alarm Clock, and I'm not really using any reverts to save or reverse to VAB or quick saves, other than fixing like time acceleration related mishaps. So if things go poorly and a Kerbal dies, then they die and they're gonna stay dead. So we definitely want. Actually, I already launched a refueler and with a science lab attached, and it's in orbit around Kerbin right now, and it's going out to Duna to meet up with this ship that I'm building right here, which is going to be like the Ike and Duna lander. So I was kind of planning on, it's kind of a joint mission. I was kind of planning on sending them both out there at the same time. So we only need one, planetary alignment, and we only need to kind of time warp once through that process. So once I get this into orbit, then I'll probably send the refueler first, do the burn for the refueler first, then do the burn for this lander. And just kind of have the lander follow the refueler out there. All right. So we need a docking clamp for sure. There we are. And then we probably want some antennas. We want some RCS port thrusters. You take advantage of the RCS that we got in there. What else do we want? Oh, I'm almost like completely forgetting, science. We definitely want science going on up in here. Alright, so we only really need 2 of these since we're going to have a science lab out there. Oh, that's only one. 2 for balance. There we go. And then we need some batteries and some solar panels. Let's put some batteries down there. Another pair. And then we've got more science type things. We got a barometer. We have a thermometer, and we have a seismic accelerometer. So that should be good for our science and batteries. Now we need some solar panels, but I think I'm going to wait to put those on because I'm going to build some kind of asparagus stalks around this main kind of part of the ship here. Oh, and before I forget, I need parachutes. Parachutes definitely helpful when you're trying to land, when you're trying to get back home. So let's go ahead and put a lot of these on there. And then let's put some struts on here too, to make sure this thing holds together. There's some struts there. I think that should be pretty good. Now, what do we got in terms of ladders? I think you can. I think you can actually just barely get up off the surface of Duna with your. Yeah, I'm gonna have to move those batteries. I think you can just barely get up off the surface of Duna with your jetpack, but I'm going to play it safe and get myself a ladder here. So put that there. Yeah, the parachutes, that would really suck to get all the way out there and then realize that I didn't have parachutes once I was in the atmosphere. That would not be a good day for whichever Kerbal is going to have the honor of flying in this lander can. So let's build some ladder here. Look. And this one will up right there. Let's put another one of these up here then. If we're going to do that, maybe just get rid of all these. Okay, so I'm not doing reverts to the VAB, but I can put something out. So I'm not really doing, a test flight and revert and everything, but I want to make sure this ladder actually kind of works here. So I'm just going to put it out there and then do a recover vehicle. Let's see what happens. Okay, Durban Kerman, your first mission. Let's open these ladders. Uh-oh, are we falling over? Durbin, are you gonna die on the launch pad? Hopefully he'll survive this. No explosions. But that did not go quite right. And I don't have the big landing legs yet. So for our test, and I'm gonna have to remember to fix that. I'm gonna get rid of the fuel, and hopefully this time the weight is gonna be okay, and we're not gonna fall over. Once again, Duna does not have the same gravity that Kerbin does. So this vehicle should be okay. Plus, I'm gonna have lots of extra legs on. I'm gonna have lots of extra legs on the asparagus stalks that I build around this. So let's EVA you, and of course, Durbin, you seem to have bad luck. All right, let's see if you can actually climb all the way back in without issue. Hopefully before this thing falls over again. Okay, you can. Alright, that works. Alright, so yeah, being able to remove fuel is part of the new tweakables system that they put in with the last patch. So you can adjust your fuel. You can on rockets you can limit the total thrust, and you can lock the gimbals so that they don't do any thrust vectoring. You can tweak the landing gear so you can have it start deployed or retracted, and you can lock the suspension, which actually I probably should have locked the suspension during that test. That would have prevented it from falling over probably. But now that we are done with that test, we want to retract those again. So now it's time to build a few asparagus stalks here. And one of the things I'm doing with this is in addition to not using any mods, I'm not really using any calculators either, like Delta V calculators. But I have gone to places like Duna before plenty of times, so I kind of have a feel for kind of what you need to build in order to get there and get off of it and get back. So, maybe I end up guessing wrong and we don't have enough fuel. I don't know. Hey, welcome back, babe. Good to see you again. So But I think we'll be okay. You know, especially with that refueling station out there, because I was able to, even with this tech level, get quite a bit of fuel into orbit, and I should have quite a bit of fuel left over once I get to Duna and that science/refueling station. Oh, these are way too high. I'm gonna get these even. Oops. Oh, come on. Why do you not... Are these the mystery goo interfering? Yeah, that's what it was. You want to get these stages to be just about dead even with that center stage. Maybe a little lower. Yes, I did have a beard before. I actually just shaved it today. It was getting annoying. But in like 2 weeks, I'll probably have it back again. Because, I don't know, I kind of shave the beard and grow the beard on whims. You know, today when I was in the bathroom, I started trimming up the beard, and then I trimmed it a little shorter, and then I was like, F it, I'm just gonna cut the whole thing off. So, not really a whole lot of planning involved, no special event that I shaved the beard for, just kind of felt like shaving it off today. That's all there is to it. Okay, these are not even. Let's move this over a little bit. Alright, that looks even. So let's put our mystery goo back on here somewhere. Like there. And now we need lots of landing legs. I wonder if these landing legs are going to hit those engines there. It's a possibility. We'll see when we... I guess we'll have to test that too. Yeah, definitely. When you're landing on higher gravity places like Duna, you do want to make sure you build something plenty wide, so that they don't tip over. You know, like on Minmus or the Moon, or you know, Ike or Gilly, you can a lot of times you can just have a straight one-piece rocket, and you can even land on the engine with no landing gear as long as you do it right. But Duna's definitely a little trickier in some ways. You know, it's got atmosphere, so you have to deal with the atmosphere. But the atmosphere's really thin, so it gives you like all of the problems of having an atmosphere, but none of the benefits, I guess. It's a good way to put it. I mean, you do get, you know, your parachutes will help out some, but they aren't going to help out a ton. Speaking of parachutes, let's add some more on there. So, let's see, we've got 6 kind of regular radial parachutes up top and 4 big mammoth jammas here on our asparagus stalks. I think that'll be pretty good. We may have to fire the engines a little bit as we're landing on Duna, but shouldn't have to do it too much. So now, let's see, let's move you down there, put you parachutes up here, and then all of our engines are down here. Okay, so we want to split up these asparagus stalks into different stages. And get some fuel lines. So if you guys pop first, then that means your fuel should go here. And you guys pop second, so your fuel will go in there. Now, time for lots of space tape. Some struts. Put this stuff all together. We'll always use more struts. And then let's go here. There. Looks like it's kind of on the... There we go. We want it on the lander. Can we don't want that on the parachute? There we go. And sometimes these big parachutes can be a pain, and they pop right off your ship. So let's strut those on there. Hopefully that'll keep that all together. Is there anything? Let's see, this is not Duna Truck Stop 1. This is let's save that. And then let's go for another test here to make sure that these lander legs actually work. What I'm worried about here is the lander legs on the inside. Like when you retract them here in the VA, or when you make them deploy them here in the VAB, they always look fine and they look like they're going to deploy okay. But when you actually launch your vehicle and deploy them with physics in the real world, these might actually clip and hit the engines and might not deploy all the way. So that's what I'm going to test right here. Make sure those landing legs actually come down all the way. And it looks like they do. Okay, so we can raise the leg and then lower the leg. And it does not appear to clip into those engines at all. So I think we're in good shape. Go ahead and recover that, because that thing is definitely not getting to Duna by itself. We need to launch that puppy. Let's see. So now let's retract all these legs again. Oop. And since that thing now holds steady on Kerbin, it should definitely hold steady on Duna. And now I'm kind of getting worried about my choice of nothing but LV909s to get up off the surface of Duna. I'm pretty sure it's going to be fine, but in order to give myself a little bit of a boost, I think I'm going to add me some Separatrons here. Just so right in the very beginning, when we're trying to come off of Duna, we just get a little extra boost there from these things. So, oh man, I didn't have symmetry on. Alright, there we go. So, let's see. All of these engines are firing. We do not want this firing with the Separatrons. These engines are we're going to want to turn on before we get to the Separatrons, because I think I might try to land this whole thing on Ike first. And then refuel, land on Duna, and go home. So we want a decoupler there. And that decoupler should fire with all those engines. And let's get an adapter. And now, oops. Oh, before I forget, one thing we didn't add to our lander here, solar panels. That would have not been cool. We did have batteries. But those LV909s do not generate electricity. So that could have been a disaster if I'd forgotten those solar panels. Put a pair up there, and that should be good. So now, where did we pick this launcher off? I think what I'm going to do is put one of these tanks and a poodle here. So that, I mean, we're going to have tons of fuel in that fuel depot. So, but if with this down here, I won't have to use too much of the fuel up here. Once to get to Duna and to get to where I want to go once I'm in Duna's influence, because I really only want to do one rendezvous with that truck stop. I don't have to do multiple rendezvous and multiple refueling trips. And once you guys see the size of the truck stop that I got up in orbit with this launcher, you'll see that the combined weight of all this stuff and this little tank here is probably the same or less than what I launched into orbit with this same launch vehicle on the bottom here. So, okay, now we got lots of orphan struts here. Let's try to save these things. Now we just need to put lots of struts everywhere to make sure this thing holds together as we're launching. Any more orphan struts? Yeah, we got some here. Just go ahead and throw those away. Don't see anymore. I think we're good there. So this connection here with all the weight above it is going to be a little worrisome. So let's go ahead. Doesn't look like that actually connected. There we go. So there's a solid connection there. Now we want to make sure we've got a nice, safe, solid connection here. Well, that was weird. Why did the symmetry do that? I didn't want that to happen. That's what I wanted to happen. Okay. Get you guys down there. And then, just because I'm not doing any reverts or anything, so I'm going to be strut happy here. And try to make sure that this all holds together really well. So we've got a lot of struts there. Let's go with one more round of strut happiness. That's not going to work. There we go. And there we go. So let's double check my staging here. So what it looks like, yeah, it looks like my stages got really messed up when I pulled in my subassembly. So I'm gonna have to carefully double check on this. So these are all my boosters on the outside here, my engines. I think this stage is okay. These should get rid of the small boosters. This should get rid of the asparagus stalk that the small boosters are attached to. Okay. And then here's where everything has gotten mixed up. So this is my next asparagus stalk stage. That should go there. Are these my... These are all my big booster separators. So those should go down here. Man, this subassembly really butchered my staging pretty badly. So let's double check here. That is boosters. Boosters. Okay, so I think those boosters are good. So let's double check this again. These are our first stocks. Bade, the death counter is for the series. This is only the second installment. Chad Kerbin survived all 3 of his missions on the first installment to Minmus, the Moon, and Gilly. There was a close call on my first launch to Gilly. The first time I created a launch vehicle like this. It broke on the way up out of Kerbin, but I was able to recover from it and safely get Chad away from that death trap and back down to the surface. And then I added a bunch more struts to it and relaunched, and it all held together the second time. So these engines here, we definitely do not want firing after those boosters are gone. So what we want to happen next is, after all these boosters are gone, we want, our second asparagus stock stage. And then where's our third stage? It's right there. Third stage. And then last stage is hiding up there. Okay, so that's our last stage. Then we have, let's see, these must be all my Sepatrons here. Yep. These we want way up there. We want all these rockets firing with that decoupler. And then, where's my big decoupler? I think this is the last thing that's messed up. Okay, so that's our last asparagus stock. Then after that fires, we've got this separator and the poodle. And the next one, we've got this separator here and all these LV909s. Then we get rid of one pair of stocks, second pair of stocks, and we fire all these, and we get parachutes. Actually, parachutes are gonna go down here before we get rid of those stocks, because we're gonna be landing with those stocks still attached. Okay. Alright. I think I've got that all sorted out. That was pretty complicated. For the sake of Durbin, I think that was his name. Let's cross our fingers and hope I really did get that all sorted out. Now, one last kind of check. I do have batteries. I've got RCS fuel. I've got RCS thrusters. I've got solar panels. I've got my science instruments. I've got antennas. Docking clamp. Ooh, I think one last thing that I almost always forget. Let's put some lights on this thing. I need 6. Let's just put 4. And try to get these aimed up to where we would be pointing. It's kind of going at a weird angle there. If we were... Why? I'm gonna start over with those. Let's just put these right here. these down a little bit. Transmission equipment, yeah, I've got 4 antennas. So I should be good with that. And I'm gonna have a my refueler, my truck stop does have a science lab on it. So when I'm gonna go to Ike first, then dock with the refueler and clean out my experiments on the science lab, transmit, then land on Duna, redo the experiments, launch, and go straight home from Duna. I don't think I'm gonna need to, with these asparagus stalks and everything, I don't think I'm gonna need to refuel after I launch from Duna to get back home. I may, but I don't think I'm gonna need to. I should have tons of fuel in that in my fuel depot though, if I do need to. All right. So we've got struts out the yin yang. Let's hope this all holds together, and let's launch. All right, Durbin. Cross your fingers, buddy. This is your first launch. Chad's already up in space waiting for you. Here we go. Holding steady so far. Everything looking good. Haven't exploded yet. Come on, Durbin. What's that frown for, buddy? Have a little faith. Chad is a much better team player than you are. He loves my designs, even the one that almost killed him. If you keep this up, I'm going to swap you with Chad and give him the honor of landing on Duna and Ike. And first boosters away. A couple of asparagus stalks away. Looks like I did get everything sorted correctly, hopefully. Hopefully I didn't speak too soon. And then our big boosters are almost done. There we go. Coming up on 10,000 meters. Going a little slow, but we were going a little slow when I launched my fuel depot at this point too, and we ended up being okay. So since we're not really going 200, 250 yet, instead of angling straight over to 45, I'm just gonna kind of gently nudge it. Lose another couple of asparagus stalks there. So I think by the time I do get over to that 45 degree angle, 90 marker, and not quite going 250, but 230 and climbing quickly, I think we'll be in good shape. Switch views. 22 seconds. That starts going up, then we're golden. Alright, still have lots of fuel on the stage. There we go, 23 seconds. That time to apoapsis is a very good indication at this point in your flight of whether you're going to be successful or not. If it's climbing, you're probably going to be pretty good. If it's staying the same, you're going to be real close. And if it's going down, you're probably coming back down to Kerbin. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know the exact numbers off the top of my head, but I've got like 500 hours playing. So that's lots of launches from Kerbin. So I've got a pretty good feel for, you know, mid-flight whether things are going well or not, even before disaster happens. So once we get up to about 1,000 meters per second, I'm going to start tilting over a little more. There we go. Start stretching that orbit out a little bit. And try to circularize it as we're going up some. See right here, you can see this is Duna Truck Stop 1. I already put it in orbit. So I can use the same planetary alignment between Kerbin and Duna to get both of these ships over there. That way we don't have to waste a whole bunch of time and kind of do everything twice. because all I have right now is the small docking clamps. I don't have a high level of tech yet. So trying to like bring these things both up and then docking them here around Kerbin and taking one ship all the way out to Duna, probably not going to work too well with this level of tech. That thing would not really hold together well once it was docked, and you know the lander would be flopping around when I tried to do the burn to Duna, and it would probably end in fiery disaster. Okay, cool. We still actually have some fuel left in that stage there. Okay, that should be a decent circularization. And this thing is, the top of this is lighter than my truck stop. So this is only going to take a 19-second burn to circularize. The other one took like a 40-second burn or so. So it's possible, but possible but not likely that these last two asparagus stalks are going to last through this whole burn. So instead of starting it, because half of 19 is about 10 seconds, instead of starting it at 10 seconds, I think I'm going to start it at 15 seconds to try to even out the burn on both sides of the maneuver node. You know, whenever you have to stage mid-burn, it's really just total guesswork as to when the right time to start burning is. So, all right, coming up on 15 seconds here. Maybe I'll start even a little earlier, like 18 seconds or so. There we go. I guess I started it maybe a little bit early. We just hit the node there and we were about 2/3 of the way done with the burn. But you don't really have to be exact here, as long as both your apoaps and periaps are above 70,000 meters. You're going to be in good shape. There we go, 76, 78. That is definitely circular enough to get where we want to go. Alright, thanks everybody for watching. I will be posting the rest of part 2 of Sample Quest to YouTube soon. If you want to watch Sample Quest live as it happens, go ahead and follow me on Twitch at twitch.tv/BuckeyeMonkey. And if you haven't already, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Thanks again, guys. See you later.